Well, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight, or whether you're watching this a little bit later, to even tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, and we are excited to just bring you a little bit more information. This time together that we have is for our seventh grade students and parents. What we want to accomplish tonight is to give you a little bit more detail, overview of what to expect at the middle school as a seventh grader. So we're going to look at our staffing. We're going to hear from your English teacher, your history teacher, your science teacher, and your math teacher with a quick introduction and just to give an overview of what to expect in their class. And we want to talk about some of the nuances of Legacy Middle School. You're also going to hear from our Dean of Students, Mr. Anthony, as well. There won't be a time of Q&A at the end for this presentation, but if you have questions, please feel free to email Mrs. Gilbride, Mr. Anthony, or myself, and we'll be able to get those questions answered. So let's jump right in. You have a wonderful staff at the middle school that are going to be serving you this year. And so the names are up there on the screen. As you can see, a lot of people who are going to have influence on you, whether they're teachers. Some of them are teachers that you've had in the past, such as Mr. Doziero and Mrs. Millette. And then some new staff in new roles, such as Mr. Anthony as the Dean of Students, which he'll have an opportunity to talk to you in just a little bit. But in terms of learning about Mr. Worley, Mrs. Heater, Mrs. Van Dyke, and some of those staff members, being able to see Mr. Gilbride as our seventh grade technology and computer teacher. We call that class IMT at the middle school. So we're really excited for you to get to know these staff members, and they're excited to finally meet you very soon. Moving on to just the core classes that we have. Obviously, you have math and English and history and science. Those two class settings are paired together for you to know that math and English, they follow an everyday schedule. So you'll see those teachers every day with a little bit of a shorter, more traditional class length. And then our history and our science classes as well. Those classes meet in what's called a double period, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Our Bible and our IMT in Spanish are no longer considered enrichments as you've known them previously. They're also wrapped up into that core class time as well. And then PE, nutrition, and sports. Our sports teams, when those get launched, those will practice during the PE block. So your physical education, you have a couple of choices to choose from. On a regular basis, I know that PE offerings went out in the spring, went out this last weekend. And in the spring, we're hoping that we can jump into our sports. But right now, as you know, those are on hold. So we have a variety of other PE and nutrition offerings that you guys have selected from. But when we get back to a normal schedule, the sports practices will be embedded into the school day, which is very helpful for our game schedule and then parents and families' personal schedules as well. Seventh graders, you also get the chance to participate in an organizational skills and personal finance class. Generally, those are two classes that each meet once a semester. Those are taught by Mrs. Heater, and you're going to absolutely love those courses. So they're very practical. They help you think through how you organize your life and your studies, and then how you organize your finances. So those are wonderful classes for you to look forward to as well. And then I know there was a lot of excitement about our electives this past weekend. So electives, two sets of offerings, which you saw, two that meet twice a week on Tuesday, Thursday, and then another selection that meets once a week on Friday. So we're compiling all of those submissions, and we'll be submitting those selections to each of the students in the coming days. So for you, as you saw in the email, those electives start on Thursday, and then the other elective will be on Friday, and then your PE will start on Monday. We're going to be holding our PE classes on Mondays and Wednesdays through DLP, and then when we return to on-campus learning, those will shift over back to Tuesday, Thursday, and there'll be that adjustment that we talked about in our middle school orientation last week, where we'll shift in some of those classes, which leads me to the next two classes that currently are not on our DLP schedule, our Strategies for Life. That's taught by Mr. Doug Worley. And so he is holding on that class until you guys get to be back with him in class. And then also our study hall time, which is, again, one of those offerings that is embedded into the school day. Just allow you guys to have a space where you can get started on some homework, get your work completed before whatever might be happening after school. So those are our classroom offerings for our 7th graders. A lot to choose from, a lot to think through, and a lot to be responsible for. So we're excited for you guys to dive right in. Making the transition. This is probably the bulk of what I want to spend our time with today, is just ensuring that you are really prepared as a family, students, parents, understanding the expectations of that big transition to middle school. We want you to be the most prepared as possible for high school when that time comes. And as a 7th grader, it might be hard for you to even imagine thinking about high school, but that will come very soon. And so the habits and the skills that you are developing, especially now as a middle schooler, are going to be very foundational to your time when you get into high school. So one of the ways that we really prepare our middle schoolers for that high school next level is through our high school curriculum. So much of what you're going to be learning is actually taught from high school text. So we're really entrusting our instructors with a lot of material that they're now taking and bringing that down and delivering that to a 7th grader or an 8th grader. So the content is going to be really something that is going to require you to really listen, to engage, to be doing the reading, really applying yourself to do the very, very best that you can. It may be a difficult transition for some of you that have felt like 6th grade, 5th grade, I didn't really need to study, didn't need to put in a lot of time and commitment to your studies because it came naturally, or you were able to just cover the material and show that you have understood it and be able to do well on a test. We see year after year that students who are not ready to be prepared to think deeply and to take good notes in class and to engage with the content can struggle a little bit. So just keep in mind that it is a higher level for students at the middle school, and we want you to be prepared. We want you to understand the expectations there. That double class period is one that you should keep in mind just in terms of the amount of content that's being shared at the science and the history, and to be thoughtful as students that, hey, even though class isn't every day, you're going to be given an assignment for homework that you really should try to break up into 2 nights. For example, if you have science and history on Monday, and it's a temptation maybe to know that it's not going to be due until the following Wednesday, to maybe put off that homework until Tuesday night. So I would caution students to really think about taking that homework assignment, breaking it up, perhaps doing science homework on Monday and history on Tuesday, so that when you come to class on Wednesday, you're prepared. We've seen a lot of students struggle in the past as well, thinking, well, what homework do you have tonight? And because it's not due the next day, really putting that off on hold, and then feeling overwhelmed Tuesday night because now you have Tuesday's math or English homework, and then also the Monday, Wednesday science and history homework that really should have been spread out a little bit more over the couple of days. So keep that in mind in terms of thinking through your homework with those double periods. You'll see that math and science and English and history all meet on Fridays, a little bit of a shorter period day as well. So you'll be able to see your teachers on those days. They may assign assignments or have assessments and tests on those days as well. So just be thoughtful about how you plan out your week with that homework for those block periods. Really, our goal is that our students would engage with the content and really be part of the learning process throughout the day, and then 90 minutes of homework would be assigned each night. So again, parents, this is for you just in terms of thinking through how your student is scheduling out their homework. If your student is finding that they're spending more than 90 minutes on one particular day of homework, and it's getting into like 4 hours, we want to know about that. We want you to have your student talk to the teacher, email the teacher, let them know that you've been having some difficulty, and we want to evaluate: is it because we've waited on some of those double class period homework, or is it really just an overwhelming task for your students? We want to work with you guys in that regard. Don't want any of our students drowning, so making a plan for your student, for your family, and with the teacher. So in terms of science, Spanish, Bible, IMT, I just want to point out that those are GPA courses now. As I said earlier, they shouldn't be thought of as enrichment classes anymore. They're part of the GPA, so just in terms of thinking through the seriousness of the assignments, the weight that they carry towards your grade, those 4 classes that have previously sort of been considered enrichment in some regards now really mean quite a bit for your student. Electives, those run on a semester basis, as you saw with the selections this weekend. You'll choose an elective. You'll have that till the end of the first semester, and then in December, we'll send out another offering for our spring semester. PE and sports offerings, those sort of follow the seasons of the sports, and even though we're not in a season right now, that timeline will follow till about mid-November or so, and then our winter season will kick in. So students will have an opportunity to choose either another PE offering or jump onto the team sport that is being offered for the season right then. So that's sort of a quick overview. Like I said, we want to take our time tonight and just give you the helpful information that you might need, coupled with what we shared last week with our middle school DLP orientation. We're going to show 2 videos from our English and our history teacher, Mrs. Fickett and Mrs. Burkholder. And then following their videos, you're going to hear from Mr. Anthony. He's going to share a little bit about citizenship and the expectations for students, and then intro our last 2 teachers.
Hi, welcome to Legacy Middle School. My name is Carrie Fickett. I'm teaching English this year, and I just wanted to use this time to give you an overview of where we're going so that you can be prepared for class and know what to expect. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And 7th grade English, I found a quotation from Louisa May Alcott. She wrote the book Little Women. She said, "I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning how to sail my ship." And I hope that during this year we can learn how to sail our ship, and in language as well as personally, and that we can do that together. Just a little background about me. Many years ago, I got my degree from the Master's University. It was actually the Master's College back then. I got a degree in English, and I started teaching 11th grade. I taught AP Language and Composition. I taught AP Literature. I taught 12th grade. And somewhere along the way, I was teaching middle school, and I found the opportunity at Legacy is really wonderful to prepare students for high school during these middle school years. So that's what I do now, and I really enjoy it. The texts we're going to read this year, we're going to start off with House at Pooh Corner. You'll get this in your packet when your books go home. House at Pooh Corner is a transition from childhood to this thing that we call middle school, when we're not quite an adult, but we're not quite children anymore. The second book we're going to read is called Crispin Cross of Lead, and it's a story about a boy living in the Middle Ages. You'll be studying the Middle Ages with Mrs. Burkholder, and so this novel by Avi pairs along nicely with that history lesson. And also, I think Avi wrote the Charlotte Doyle book, and I know my students come in and they're like, "Oh, we love that book." So hopefully you'll enjoy Crispin. After Christmas break, we read The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and I'm thinking this year that our 4th book might be The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. We'll see how this year goes and if that's the right fit for the students. For writing, we write narrative books, we are story essays, we write expository essays, and we also write argument essays. So we will look and study all three of those modes. We begin 7th grade with narrative, and then as the year goes on, we'll move into the other modes. So I'm looking forward to that writing with you. We will write some short pieces, and we'll write some longer pieces, and we'll do that throughout the year. Essential classroom activities, reading. We will read meaningful yet challenging texts. We just talked about that. Speaking, especially on Zoom, I'd like you to come willing to speak about what you're reading and about what you're learning. We'll have class discussions, and we will have also small group settings. In Zoom, that might be a breakout room, so you'll be with 2 or 3 other people and you'll be answering a question. Writing, sometimes we'll respond to literature. There's journal entries, paragraphs, and then larger essays, and we'll do all of those throughout the year. And grammar this year, we're going to do, you'll get this in your packet too, we're going to do fix-it grammar. And I like this because it's very practical. It's a practical approach to grammar. It's got these wonderful cards here, and each card will have a couple per week, and the cards will show you what you need to work on and focus on that particular week. And then this book right here that they made for you, this is where your work will go. So this is just blank paper. And so these exercises from the first book will go in the second book. And I will show you more about that when you come to class on Wednesday. So our first book we're going to read is House of Blue Corner. And we're going to work on Robin Hood throughout the whole year. So we just do 1 sentence a day, and then by the time we finish the book, we've written out a whole story about Robin Hood, who was also a medieval character. And so you can talk about that in the context of Miss Burkholder's class too. So that's kind of the essential classroom activities that we're going to do this year. English class will begin at the scheduled time. So you'll get your schedule, and some days it's going to be first thing in the morning, and some days it'll be closer to 11 in the later morning. So you just need to check your schedule when English class starts. When you know the time it is that it should start, the instructions for the day will be on Google Classroom, and on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, we will get you all established in the Google Classroom. But every day you go to the Google Classroom. If you're supposed to come to Zoom, there will be a Zoom link. If you are supposed to do an activity before you come to Zoom, there will be a link there. Or if it's a no Zoom day, then there will be you don't need to come to Zoom, you just need to have this turned in by a particular time. But those instructions will be provided every day at your class time. You should be ready when you come to class on Zoom. You should have your camera on. You should have your sound muted. Zoom may not last the entire time, but you need to either be able to chat in the chat box, or if I say, can you turn on your mic and can you answer a question, you should be able to do that. Some days you're going to be watching a video. I'll pre-record something, and it might have the task for that day. And I would expect that you should be able to complete that task, if not within the class period, maybe with a little bit of extra work. And I'd like you to kind of keep track of that. Like, you said this was going to take 30 minutes, but it actually took me 45 minutes. And so we can make sure that your time is being protected and that you are investing the time and you're getting the returns on your investment. Work will be organized by the week. So on Monday, you'll have a clear path of what needs to be done by Friday. On the first day, I'll post a document or a slide with all of the links and the documents that you require. So I hope that the student will complete the work within that week so that the following week we start fresh. With DLP, that was one of the most important things we learned last year. You have to stay stay with it and not let things get out of control. And I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons from doing DOP in 6th grade. So, I want you to bring that to our discussion, like what worked for you and what didn't work for you. But what I found was if we started something Monday and we wrapped it up by Friday, it was easier to just start fresh on Monday and not bring things over from the week before. So that's my plan going forward. And I'm really looking at the first 6 weeks. We're going to focus on Fix-It grammar. So you'll have something to do. You'll have something to do in this 4 days a week. And then we will be reading and discussing House at Pooh Corner during our class time, and we will be studying personal and imaginative narrative writing, and we'll be practicing those skills. I also will have a link in Google Classroom in case you like an audio version of House at Pooh Corner. It's one of my favorites. I've listened to it hundreds of times, and I love the way Peter Dennis reads the story. So I want to provide that for you if you really enjoy a nice audio listen. So that's where we're going to just go in the first 6 weeks. We're going to read that book together, see what it has to tell us about how do you live in community. Middle school is a community up here, and I find a lot of parallels between House at Pooh Corner and the characters there and the characters that we have in middle school, and the people who come and they bring their special personalities, and we all learn to work together in our community. So the first 8 days, for the first 3 days, we're going to concentrate on Zoom protocol, Google Classroom, and the Robin Hood grammar story. You will also discuss, I want you guys to discuss your summer reading books. So whatever you thought, bring that knowledge, and I might even put you in some breakout rooms with other people who read the same story and give you some questions to talk about. So we're going to and maybe we're even going to try Flipgrid, where you can present your book to the class. So we'll just use that summer reading to kind of make connections with each other. The week of the 26th, we're going to start working on writing our basic paragraph writing. During these first 8 days, I want to get to know you, and I want to make sure that we've worked out our technological issues if there are any, and if not, we'll just start moving into this thing that's middle school. So don't worry about, we're all here and we're all working to figure out how we're going to do this, and with the knowledge that we gained from last year and with our new resolve this year, and we're just ready to move forward together into this exciting time. It's really exciting. So I want it to feel that way for you, and I'm hoping that it feels that way for me too. So this is our evaluation of progress. Same, probably you're very familiar with it. Tests, projects, papers, quizzes, homework, daily work, some of those rough writing assignments where you're just, let's try this out and see if it works. How does this paragraph work? But I want to give you credit for just doing some of that daily kind of work. And then class participation, especially in Zoom, can you come and bring something to the discussion? And you are always welcome to Zoom with me. So Ms. Vicky, can I Zoom? Can we have a Zoom call at sometimes I'll be free at 10:15, and maybe you're free too. And so we can just have that one-on-one Zoom, and we can even edit your papers that way. We can read through your paragraph. And so I found that with many of my students last spring, that one-on-one Zoom conference time was actually some of the best time that we had, and we were able to accomplish a lot. So Zoom is not just for the large group setting, it's also for individualized instruction, and really those writing conferences are some of my favorite times. So the last, let's see, communication, so important. It's always, even with this megaphone right here, you always feel like you're kind of yelling down a tunnel. Email anytime. We can communicate on Google Classroom. Parents, email me. I have hours that I'm happy to meet with you. So communication is really important, and here is my contact information. And then we are setting sail on our 7th grade adventure, and the boat is leaving the dock. And our God is so gracious. He says, I know the plans I have for you. We don't have to know them. We just have to be faithful. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. So that's the idea that I hold on to as I journey into the unknown. And I'm really excited about this adventure. So please email me with any questions, comments, anything I didn't really cover in this video. Just email me and I'll be happy to get back to you, or call and I'll give you a call back. So can't wait to see you on Wednesday in Zoom. And thank you so much for watching.
Hello, parents and students. Welcome to 7th grade World History in the year of 2020. My name is Janelle Burkholder. I will be your 7th grade World History teacher. A little bit about me is I have 2 education degrees, and my master's degree actually have an emphasis in middle school education because I love you guys so much. I'm certified to teach social studies as well as English. So Mrs. Fickett and I, she teaches English, we work together a lot to make sure you guys are getting all the skills you need to be a successful middle schooler. I have spent 13 years teaching middle school. I love it. I don't want to go anywhere else. This is my 7th year at Legacy. I spent my first 2 years at Legacy teaching 6th grade. So I have moved up from 6th grade to 7th grade, just like you have. I know what you're going through, and I'm here to make the transition as easy as possible. My husband is a pastor at Grace Baptist. His name is Jared. We are parents to Andrew. You can see in the picture he's 4. And we are also foster parents. So you can see my daughter whose face is covered because of foster care regulations. We live here in Santa Clarita. We've been here for 7 years. And what are we going to do in history class this year? Everything. We're going to learn all the things. Actually, not quite, but we are going to start right after the fall of Rome. So we're going to pick up where you left off in 6th grade history, and we're going to move all the way to the Enlightenment, and that takes you into 8th grade history. So it's really perfect. Whoever decided this did a great job. We're also going to cover some geography, current events, and all that fun stuff. Where in the world do we go? We hit Europe, we go to Africa, we go to the Middle East, we go to Asia with China and Japan. We talk about North America and South America and talking about the Aztecs, the Mayas, and the Incas. So we really go almost everywhere except Australia. Sorry, Australia. Maybe next year. Some of the highlights, we do something called Fan School, which is a geopolitical fantasy league. We have Socratic seminars where students are talking without my input on things that they've learned from their own reading and their own studying, and we're making connections. We do a lot of things that are interactive, like go outside and make sidewalk chalk maps. We do reenactments, we do plays, a lot of things that are just outside of the box. One of the reasons that we tend to do this is we are on a block schedule for history and science in middle school. We're on a block schedule, and that means you have longer class periods on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Fridays is a normal class period length. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a 90-minute class period. This does not mean you're going to be staring at a screen for 90 minutes. This does not mean you're going to be sitting at your desk for 90 minutes. We are going to be doing activities. And yes, even at home, I'm going to make you get up and go outside and create something on your driveway. So be on the lookout for some sidewalk chalk I'm sending home with you. This is our schedule. Again, you only have me 3 days a week. That does not mean you only have work 3 days a week. You'll have to be working on the off days if you have any sort of homework. And it's one of those things that we're going to get used to it. I actually love a block schedule, and I think a lot of you will too. Evaluation, you can see what the breakdown is here. I want you to note that homework and classwork, I've just put those as the same category simply because your home is your class and your class is your home. So anything that's not a test or a quiz grade is really going to be a homework classwork grade. Participation, make sure that you are participating even virtually. I will be giving you a participation grade on It'll come out on Sycamore every other week, and for every time you are disruptive in our Zoom class, you will lose points, and you can earn all of your points if you continue to participate successfully. Some of the materials you need. First of all, you need to know how to access Google Classroom. You did that last year. I know it's nothing new. You need to know how to access Zoom. You also did that last year. Those are the main two websites that you need to be aware of and be able to actually get to. I put Sycamore on here because that's where you're going to go for your grades. You're going to check your grades on Sycamore, and you're in 7th grade now. So guess what? You really need to check your grades yourself, students. Parents also check your child's grades, but students, it's your responsibility to keep checking those. I'm going to send 3 books home with you that are actual hard books. Physical copies of the book. One, you're going to get an atlas. Make sure you take care of that. Has to come back. The other thing you're going to get is an actual textbook. Again, this is going to come back with you when you come back, when we are done with distance learning and I get to see you in the classroom. So make sure you're taking good care of this. It will also give you an online textbook login, but for right now, we're going to stick with the physical textbook, and you get a book that is about the medieval life that we're going to read together as we start this unit. So again, take good care of all of these books. I'm super excited to be using all of those. You need some other materials. They're just basic school materials. You'll need a binder. That's actually going to go home with you through the through Mrs. Heater's class, which is your organizational skills class. You'll need a Chromebook. Again, that's going to go home to you simply because you're a student at Legacy. You'll need some notebook paper in case you need to take notes while we're working. Just have some paper on hand. I'd love for you to have some colored pencils or some sort of coloring utensil, whether that be thin line markers or crayons or cool colored pens or something. I would love for you to have a highlighter and some pens and pencils. Basically just your standard school supplies. You don't have to get anything special. I told you I was going to come back to fan school, so I want to tell you a little bit about our Geopolitical Fantasy League. So what is that? It's fantasy football, but with countries. So students get to draft countries that they think will let them win the game. The purpose of this is not just to get kids into fantasy sports. The purpose of this is so students actually learn geography, because you will have to be able to figure out how to navigate a map and figure out where these countries are. Sometimes you don't even know that a country exists, and sure enough, it's showing up as green as maybe a country you want to get. So it gives them an idea of where countries are, what the world is like. It also helps them be aware of current events. Just a daily agenda thing that we do is when I see your students for the first time, they're going to click that Zoom link that I'm going to send out, and they're going to be waiting for me to come on. And while they're waiting for me to come on, they're going to see a screen that looks like this. And this screen will tell them what we're going to do today. It's going to give them a few reminders. Here's what you need to do before you actually see Mrs. Burkholder. It's going to tell them what day it is, because that's really important to remember. And it's going to tell them what, might have a fun picture or what our warm-up question is. So I just want to let you know, this is what you're going to see when you log on to Zoom. When you go to Google Classroom, once I get your child to join Google Classroom, the daily agenda will always be posted so that your child and you will be able to know what we're doing that day. It will start out at the top. You'll see the yellow arrow. It'll start out with the date. It'll say the time that we're meeting, because we do meet on a different time on Friday, so it'll just help you remember. And what unit we're in. The orange arrow shows you the essential questions. That's what do we need to know big picture for this unit, so you can focus your mind and remember, what are we learning today? The purple arrow is going to show you all of the work that needs to be done before class actually starts. And so you can either click on those links, or it'll take you to where you need to go to get that finished. The green arrow is going to show you, this is what I plan to accomplish with you today. That's what we're actually going to do together in class, or I'm going to send you off after I give you instructions to complete on your own. And the red arrow at the bottom is going to give you homework, quizzes, tests. Here's what's coming up. So this is what you need to know. That's what you're going to write in your agenda. every day. I went through this really, really fast. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I can't wait to actually meet you guys. My email is on here, burkholder@legacy-christian.com. I would love to set up a Zoom meeting with you if you want, or feel free to call me. We can also chat over the phone. I am at school on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, so we can Zoom on one of those days. I would love to see your face. I'm so excited to have your children in my classroom, even if that classroom is in your home. So thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to see all you guys.
Well, as Mr. Millett said, my name is Ryan Anthony. I have the privilege of being the Dean of Students for the middle school here at Legacy. For those of you that might not know what a Dean of Students is, I get to handle and have the privilege of dealing with the behavior and discipline of the students. I want to reassure you that at Legacy, we definitely believe in a restorative process for our discipline. Discipline is to disciple and shepherd your student, and we want to come alongside you as parents to make that happen. But sometimes there are consequences for our actions, and I'd like to go over a couple of key handbook points just to clear the way for you having a successful year as we start off. Now, there's a couple of modifications for DLP 2.0 as far as the handbook, and I would like to address those. First off, let's talk about some dress code. Dress code, Monday, Wednesday, students are going to be welcome to wear their PE shirt. 7th graders will get those in their student supplies tomorrow. Tuesday, Thursday, we'd like to ask you to have your Legacy polo on. And then Friday, you can wear a Legacy polo, or you'll also be receiving a middle school t-shirt gift as well. Now, pretty much, we need you to think of being in class. When you're on Zoom with your teacher, you're in class, and think through what that would look like as far as dress code. No hoods, no hats, in-school dress code, ready to pay attention and learn for the day. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about attendance. We do expect attendance, obviously, for Zoom sessions. And the main thing with attendance that I'd like to talk about that sometimes our students get hung up with is being on time. There's going to be a 5-minute window at the beginning of any Zoom session to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to get logged in and ready for class. Beyond that 5 minutes, the teachers will mark your student as tardy. Now, the screen reflects what a normal policy would be if students were on campus and what the consequences would be following that. With Zoom and DLP 2.0, I will just be tracking those, and I may have to reach out to your student just to see what's going on if we're tardy repeatedly a number of times. Now, before we move on to what citizenship grades are, I'd like to just talk about a couple of distractions that might occur in a Zoom context for class. The name for your student always needs to be your name on your Zoom account. Please don't put anything else. Don't change it to a nickname. Don't put somebody else's name or a teacher's name. It has to be your name. Secondly, there's no background changes unless the teacher says that that's okay for that day. Maybe it's a Friday fun day. Let's change our background to where we wish we could be on vacation or something like that. But for the most part, in a normal classroom context, it just needs to be your normal background, no changing it. Additionally, this year, we'd like to ask that your camera is always on just to confirm attendance in class. The teachers need to be able to see your faces and your expressions and know that you're paying attention and engaged in your class. So cameras need to be on at all times while you're in a Zoom with your teacher. Additionally with that, there's no screen captures or recording or posting of any kind of class material outside of the class context. We don't want you to be screen capturing what your classroom is doing and then posting that somewhere on a third-party site. That's a liability, legality that we need to ask you for. All material for school needs to stay in school, and we don't want any kind of screen capturing during class. Try to minimize other distractions, such as cell phones or any kind of other technology that may be happening. Again, try to picture yourself in a classroom context, and those things wouldn't be allowed in class, so we'd like to ask also that they wouldn't be allowed while you're in Zoom in class with your teacher. And then also just try to minimize other distractions as well. I know we all love our pets at home, and we like to have them sitting with us on our bed or in our chairs, but we just need to minimize as many distractions as possible, because if you have distractions with you, it might not be distracting you, but all the others in class might be looking at you instead of paying attention to the teacher. Same thing would go with eating during Zoom. We want to get our breakfast and be eating our bowl of cereal while class is starting. And again, just in a classroom context, that wouldn't be acceptable, and it would be a distraction to others. So we'd like to ask you to refrain from eating as much as possible. Now, going on to citizenship grades, this is something different for middle school that you haven't experienced in elementary, is that we actually give you a grade for your citizenship for the semester. And that's based on your behavior and your discipline record. So as you can see on the screen, it goes E through N, ESN, and it has to do with detentions and referrals. That's, again, more for an on-campus context, but we will be tracking it as far as how many times I'm going to have to reach out to a student or a family because of discipline or behavior type scenarios. So E and E in that class would be no behavior issues or very occasional verbal reminders from your teachers that I may hear about. An S plus might be multiple verbal reminders of being a distraction in class or getting back on task, kind of having to repeat again and again the same kind of idea and reminder. But I still may not have to reach out and touch that student yet. If we're getting down into the S and the S minus, maybe you get a call from me or maybe a couple calls from me about the same thing over and over again. That would start to impact your citizenship grade. And then, of course, I hope nobody ever gets down to an N, where you're having multiple reminders from me, working with the parents and working with the student to try to get them back on track. But that's not going to happen, of course, because we have stellar students that I'm so excited to see coming up real soon here. So that's all I have for you as far as just handbook reminders to hopefully get you off to the start of the year in a successful way in your classes, even though we're at a distance. So now I'm going to toss it to our science and our math teachers. First, you'll hear from our math teacher, Mr. Shanks, and then our science teacher, Mrs. Zegan.
Well, welcome back to Legacy and welcome to my class. I am Mr. Shanks, and I have the privilege of being your math teacher this year. 2020-2021 school year has really not started off like any of us would have expected. But I want you to know that I count it a privilege to be your teacher and to walk through these times with you. One of my greatest joys as a teacher is to help you guys to excel and grow as students, both mathematically and in your middle school careers. And so to that extent, I have my email on the screen right now, and I want you to know that at any point, if you have a question or a concern or a comment, that you don't hesitate to email me. This is going to be one of the most important things for us during the time we're apart, is that we are able to communicate. So do not hesitate to reach out, and know that I am eager to help you and to respond in whatever way I can to see you excel and grow. As we start the school year off, I wanted you to know a little bit about myself. I graduated from the Master's University with my BA in mathematics, and I also went on to credential there to get my license to teach from the Master's University. In 2010, I continued my education and got my master's degree in educational technology. It has come in handy, to say the least, during these crazy times, and I'm eager to implement the strategies that I've been learning over these years to help you guys as best as I can. I have taught for 14 years, and this is now my third year at Legacy. It has really been a joy for me to be here, and I look forward again, as I said, to continuing our time together this year. A little bit more about me. I have been married to my wife for 13 years. She is the love of my life, and I'm so grateful for her. We have 4 boys from ages 10 to 3.5. This is a little photo of our family. You'll see them running around. 3 of my boys do go to Legacy, and so sometimes it's fun just to have students that have siblings in their classes and to get to know each other in a different way through that means. But I look forward for you to meet them, and for me to get to know you guys and your family as well. I wanted to share with you just these 2 quotes, and these are actually 2 quotes that are on my wall. If you see even this sign behind me right now, that just kind of shape the way we should think about math. God has created a wonderful world for us to live in, and he has used mathematics, as Galileo said, as kind of the language that he uses. So when we look at creation, when we look at the universe, we can see in the beauty of God's design that he has embedded mathematics everywhere. And all of that is to show his glory. And so it is exciting for me that we get to explore that together, and we get to learn those things, both to grow in mathematical knowledge, but in a praise of who God is. This year is different, and we're starting off in different. So one of the things I just want to do is I want to take a minute for you guys to take a look at what my class is going to be like. So as you can see on the screen right now, I've got kind of this little breakdown of how my class is going to work. And I want you guys to know that you can kind of see here what we'll do on a daily basis is we'll kind of do a video lesson. And when we're done with the video lesson, there'll be some work for you to do, and then a little form for you to fill out just for me to check with you. And when you're done with that, the following day, normally we'll check in with Zoom. And so we'll spend about 2 days every lesson kind of going back and forth between new content that's presented to you in a video that I've pre-recorded, and then the second day where we're just following up on those ideas and extending that information so that you understand it better. Now, on those days where you have pre-recorded lessons, I want you guys to know that I am available. I'm not sitting around doing nothing. I'm here to help you. So even as you watch those pre-recorded lessons, emailing me and letting me know your struggle is going to be helpful. But I just wanted you to have an idea. This is a snapshot from last year as we kind of finished things up. I got into a good rhythm, and I think it was helpful for the students that we took the time to do that. Now, obviously, there's flexibility, and I think we've all learned that through this time, is that we need to be flexible to help one another, and I want to do that. So as we communicate, obviously there's room, but I want you to know as much as I can, this is kind of the plan that I have for us this year. So I look forward to doing that with you, and I'm eager to hear your feedback, to learn with you, and to grow with you. I want to finish this off just by putting my email up again, because I know that this is all new for all of us, and even coming to middle school for some of you is a big step. And so I want to make sure that we have that open line of communication between us, that as we get to know one another, that we get to grow together again in our knowledge both of our great God and of the wonderful world He's created as we study mathematics.
Hi guys, welcome to the new school year, however crazy it may be. I am Mrs. Egan. I'm the science teacher here at the middle school. Before I get started on my classroom stuff, I really felt like I just needed to say, even though times are crazy right now, I'm still so excited to teach these kids coming in. I cannot wait. We can still have a lot of fun and learn a lot online. So I'm really excited about it. I'm just excited to walk with your students as we go through a crazy time of school, and also as we just learn about God's creation around us. So I'm excited. I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to meet all of the students. So I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see a little presentation I made, so it's a little bit easier maybe to follow along. So I kind of wanted to go through this time is keeping in mind, how is your student going to succeed in my class? So everything that I've put on here is how they're going to be successful. It has to do with how they're going to be successful. So if you have any questions about anything that I talk about, please feel free to email me. I think if anything, we've learned that this time is about communication. So email me with concerns, email me, even if you're excited about something, and we could just start a relationship, start conversations, but please email me so we can get kind of a team around your student. So I wanted to give you a little bit of my teaching background. I'm credentialed, I have 3 credentials. I'm credentialed in geoscience, which is like earth science, in biology, and then CLAD, and CLAD certified is what they would say. So basically I can teach ESL, and I have in the past when I taught high school. So I student taught at Sierra Vista, and that's about a year. And I did 8th grade physical science. And then I got hired at Canyon High in Canyon Country, and I taught there for 5 years, and I have taught every single grade and a lot of different subjects there. So I taught biology to freshmen, had some sophomores in there, but mostly freshmen. SEDI Earth Science is basically an ESL Earth Science. I also taught SEDI Biology, which I forgot to put on here, but another ESL Biology. Then I taught regular earth science, which is basically a sophomore science class. And then I taught anatomy and physiology, which is a junior, senior elective class. And it's kind of almost like a pre-med type idea, like introducing them to those types of things. So I've taught every single grade, and I wanted you to know that, because I think at Legacy we have this very unique opportunity as teachers, and I love this about Legacy, that I don't have to teach to a state test. Yes, I'm going to use state standards, and I'm going to go along that path that's recommended, but I also have the freedom to teach what is going to be best for your students moving into high school. I know what these students need moving into high school in the next couple years. And so I can really, really prepare them for that. A lot of our students do go into AP and honors biology. Some of them don't, but they are prepared to do those things if they want to. This is my 8th year at Legacy. I have taught 7th and 8th grade science, so a total of 14 years of teaching here. So a couple of my classroom norms, and I'm just going to give you a little bit because more will come, and I'll communicate more once we actually arrive back in the classroom. But the first thing is extra credit, because I know students and even parents, we want to make sure they're successful with their grades. And so I do offer extra credit, but I only offer extra credit for a couple of things. And those couple of things I tell students you need to take advantage of, because I do want to make it fair for all students. So one of the things I do, and it's kind of fun, is we do something called a creature of interest. A creature of interest is something that is not in the textbook. It's a creature that we talk about maybe for 30 minutes, digging into the uniqueness of how it's made. And then it's kind of like a fun discovery day. Students don't even have to take notes on it if they don't want to. We watch videos, we look at pictures, and then I take maybe, I make 2 or 3 questions about that creature of interest, and I put that on the chapter test. So for an example, our cells test, our creature of interest is a hummingbird, and we talk about how unique that hummingbird has to be made in order to exert that much energy to beat its wings. So we have to talk about it on a cellular level. So it just makes science real and practical, but I make that extra credit on the test to help boost their test grades as well. In class, and I'm working out ways to do this on DLP as well, students can earn tickets. And tickets, they can purchase items. I have a chart in class once they get into class. They can buy homework passes, seat passes, Starbucks drinks. So it's kind of fun for them, an incentive for them. If they are kind in class, they can earn tickets. If they are participating in class, they can earn tickets. If I'm impressed by something they did, they can earn tickets. So I'm always looking for ways to reward students for tickets. These tickets can also be used and redeemed for points. So on their homework, for instance, they can attach tickets to it and they can get extra credit points on their homework. So again, students need to take advantage of these opportunities, because I do not give extra credit to students who say, hey, my grade is low, can I have extra credit, or can I do an extra project? I want to make it fair for everybody, so I just have a certain amount of extra credit opportunities they can do. Really quickly, the subjects I cover in class, we do go over investigation and experimentation and how the process of science works. And then we get into some really, really fun chapters. Cells. We talk about DNA. Mitosis and meiosis are how cells are growing and dividing. We talk about genetics, which all kids love. Biotechnology is about cloning and GMOs and something called designer babies. There's insane stuff out there, so it's really fun to talk about. And then I do talk about creation and evolution. I think it's really important our students know both. And then we do anatomy and physiology at the end, and that's kind of a more fun, hands-on units. So that's kind of what we go over. Again, in class norms, I'm going to explain more of that once we return from DLP. I can send home information to parents, and then students as well will be in class, so we can go over that. Technology. So one of the things I like to do is something called Remind 101. It's basically a Twitter that's safe to use in schools. Basically, students can follow me. So on their cell phones, if they don't have a cell phone, they can do it from their computer, and they can follow me, and I send out reminder texts so they're not, overwhelmed. And this works really well when we're back at school. I might not use it a ton during DLP, but it's good to know about it. And as parents, you can also follow me. So if I, tweet out a remind that says, hey, don't forget to study for your test tonight, you as a parent would also get that and get that reminder of, oh, they have a test tomorrow. So it's kind of just an easy, quick way to get a text of really important things that are happening in class. Then I have a class website, and this is like your one-stop shop for everything in my class. Our entire year is organized by chapter, and each chapter has PowerPoints on vocabulary, which in my class we call it BUOS, big ugly words of science, and kind of make it fun for them. Every lesson PowerPoint I teach is on there. There's video clips of what we watch in class, every review sheet, and then this is where our DLP section is going to be as well, when it is applicable. So it's useful not just for DLP, but I've had kids who are absent and are going to be absent, and they can go on there for missing notes or on the calendar and see what they're missing, and they can show up to school the very next day with everything done. Google Classroom is something else I use, and I only use Google Classroom during DLP, and it's really just to turn in work because we don't have that option to do on the class website, but everything else will be on the class website. So I just wanted to show you really quick just a peek of my class website. And this really is for the students, but again, you as parents can use it too. If you want to see what we're doing that day, or you want to look into a chapter or lesson or a video, you can totally use it. And the calendar is on there as well. Don't feel overwhelmed by the website. The students, one of the first assignments they're going to do for me is a website scavenger hunt. And that's going to get them familiar with how to navigate through the website. And I would like them to do it with a parent, but again, because of these crazy times, if you're working and you're not available to do it, please just email me and I'll just excuse that portion of it. So I want to be flexible and understanding, but I also want to give you the tools to be successful. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of what this website looks like. These are basically all the chapters up here, and everything is super organized. So I'll just go into like creation, for example. Let's do this first. So here's the calendar. If you just scroll down, and you can look at a month, right? So here's the first day of school. Normally every day would be filled with what we're doing that day. And then up here are the chapters. So if you click on the down arrow, you can see this is our vocab. Here's our distance learning. I'll just click on like a PowerPoint. So all my PowerPoints are here. And again, DLP or not, say your student's absent and they miss lesson 1, they can actually get all the PowerPoints and fill in all the notes. So it's a really great thing. For DLP, and again, your students will have an assignment that'll walk them through this, distance learning for chapter 7. All the videos that I am teaching that aren't live will be here with instruction as well. So here's all the videos of me teaching through those PowerPoints. So it's a very, again, everything's super organized. Every single thing we do in class is on this website. So it's a catch-all of everything we're doing. So next I wanted to talk about our class work breakdown. Just really quickly, tests are worth 40%. And there's a variety of questions. I think it's really important not to just do all multiple choice or all written. I need to see, a myriad of what they can do. A review sheet is given at the beginning of every single chapter, which means they can be working on the review sheet 2 or 3 weeks in advance to the test, or work on it slowly as we go over information. So by the time they get to the day of the test, that review sheet is already filled out and all they have to do is review it. Packet. So in my class, and this is when we return, when we're on DLP, I'm just going to give them like notes. We're not going to do full packets, but packet is all the student work for one chapter. It's everything: notes, vocab, worksheets, articles, and that is worth 40%. And I want my students this year, especially going into 7th grade, to realize that the effort they put into class, I'm going to weigh it the same as their test. So I want them to learn to work hard. Oops. Projects and labs will be 15%. And again, only used in DLP situation. Participation will be 5%. And then homework is going to be minimal. I give rocks, which is reading outside of class. It's basically a science article. And it's a chapter, so it's not very long. It probably takes them 10 minutes. I will not be doing this during DLP, but that's when we come back to work. And then any unfinished work that they have will be homework, and that's normally packet work, and I give them time to do it in class. So if they don't finish, it's after. And then flipped lessons, again, this is when we return from DLP. It's basically, I teach them a lesson on a video, and that's their homework. And then they come into class the next day and we do a lab or an activity that kind of reinforces that. And that allows me to work with that student. And then the other minimal homework they might have is studying for test, which again, they have a review sheet for that. So this is a good picture of how to get an A in my class. So this is like the title sheet of a packet. So these are basically all the worksheets that are in this packet, and the students can see how much each is worth. Again, during DLP, they're basically just getting this, the lesson notes, and maybe a couple worksheets. But basically, students would fill out their packet. That's complete. And the review sheet you can see is very, very specific questions that will be on the test. So review sheet well. And then from their review sheet, you can actually see, it's actually the first question on the test. Who is the first to see the cell? So if they're doing their work well and they fill out the review sheet well, they should be able to do a good job on the test. And that's how my class is set up. So it's very, from one thing to the next. So for me, specifically for DLP, how I found worked well for my class last semester, what I will do is I will send out an email to students with a daily agenda. So it goes straight to their email, and it'll see it's from me, and it'll say Science Daily Agenda. And during the day for science, I'm gonna have a mixture of live Zoom, of recorded lessons, and even independent work. And I'll also, video me doing labs or demonstrations, but I'll email them that agenda. So maybe number one, it might say, here's the Zoom link, come to Zoom and we'll have our morning discussion about science. And then second thing on the agenda would be to watch this video about this lesson. And then third on the agenda would be do this worksheet or fill in these notes. And then fourth on the agenda might be, upload to Google Classroom. So that agenda will be sent to them, so they're not always searching for it. That agenda will also be on the calendar that I showed you on my website. So it's in two places. It goes straight to them, and it's also on the website if they need it. Worksheets, any other documents will be available on Google Classroom. So that's where they can download worksheets and upload. And again, I will walk your student through this very specifically. The video film lessons and all other resources will be on the class website. So that is going to emulate a normal school day. So when we return to school, it's still the same thing. Then once students have finished their work for the day, they will upload their work and turn it into Google Classroom. And so that's kind of the, bones of what we're working with. And I'm going to do a tutorial and a Zoom and walk students through this very specifically when school starts. So again, that's kind of the basics. So if you have any other questions, or I skipped over something or went through something too quickly, please email me. I am your partner in this, and we're going to help these kids be successful in science this year. So thank you so much for listening and entrusting your kids with us, especially during this time. So can't wait to meet you all, especially in person. Until then, have a good night. Bye.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, or whenever you happen to be watching this video.
We look forward to the start of another school year and a chance to start with our 7th graders and joining with our 8th graders. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and we'll see you soon.